bringing him up. I appreciate it. There he
Hi.
is.
My
I was
bad.
like, you said I hit the box, and I'm like, no, he didn't. I can't see it.
Yeah, I came up as soon as I got in here.
Okay, did you co-host?
I was trying to, it wouldn't let me.
Yeah, because we can't. It won't record it. Like when I go to download it
Yeah.
to my thing, I can't do co-host. It has to do guest only.
Okay.
So that's why, unfortunately. And then plus, like I can't see your people asking questions, and so it keeps where I'm seeing all the questions being asked, so I can reiterate them to you.
Makes sense.
Okay. So we're gonna get started. Just give me a few minutes. I want to black out this screen so I know where we're going. Then you can keep doing your walk if you want to.
Awesome. Yes, I would love that. I'm not going to go very fast, but
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Power of One Voice. Today's podcast is Walking into Worthiness. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale and exhale. Now one more, not just for your lungs, but for your heart, because today's episode is about breath. When it's hard to breathe, it's about truth. When you've been silenced, and it's about walking when the world has told you you'll never stand again. Welcome to the Power of One Voice, where the pain meets purpose and every story finds a mic. I am Rare Soul, and today we're honoring a man who didn't just survive, he transformed. My guest has served 21 years of a 40-year sentence. 8 of those were spent in complete isolation with no human contact, no family visits, no voices but his own and God's. But the story doesn't end there. On October 30th, 2022, not long after his release, he was shot in the back by someone whom he once trusted. That bullet left him paralyzed from the chest down, and yet here he is today fighting to walk again. Thank you. Not just on his legs, but in his spirit. And he came to the Power of One Voice, not for fame, not for pity, but because fate brought him here. Because he believed you, yes, you, deserve to feel the worthiness of your inner child again. This is about redemption, real healing, and what it means to stay rare. In a world that tries to keep you in a box, so grab your heart, leave your judgment at the door, and join us for this powerful testimony of transformation. You ready?
yep.
Okay. When you pictured your earliest memory of safety, what's the first sound you hear?
Honestly, I would say the first sound I hear was the door closing when I got to juvie.
And that was safety for you?
That was the first time I ever really felt safe, I would say, because I was in a room by myself, the door was locked, and nobody could get to me. I was 14. I was 14 the first time I went to juvenile. That was the first time I'd say I really felt safe.
Do you want to elaborate? Like, why did you go to, if you don't want to, you don't have
No,
to?
I started hanging around with the wrong crowd, started kicking with gangs and stuff like that, and started getting in trouble. And I had a warrant. I was scared to tell my dad that I got in trouble, so I never took care of the ticket, and I ended up getting a warrant. And because of that, I ended up going to juvie. So,
Okay.
yeah, but that was the first time I feel like I felt safe. Like, I just remember laying in the bed and, like, I could sleep, you know?
Yeah.
I could sleep really good. I didn't have to worry about where I was sleeping, who I was sleeping with, or who's going to bother me or anything, you know?
Yeah. Must have been hard at 14.
Yeah.
What was your first?
15.
Huh?
At 15, I ended up on the streets. I was homeless. And that's when I really started getting in with the wrong crowd, because they took me in. They let me wear their clothes. They let me eat their food. I was driving their cars. You know, they had me making money for them in a bunch of different ways, but mostly illegal stuff. Not proud of, but that's how I ended up getting involved with the gang, because I didn't want to really be a gang member up until that point. I kind of even though I was hanging out with them, I wasn't committed, you know. But once I was homeless and they took me in, I said, fuck it, let's go. You know what I mean? I guess this was what I was meant to do.
Right.
And because of who I am, I want to do everything the best of my ability. And so even though it was negative, I wanted to be the best gangbanger there was, you know? I wanted to be the hardest mother freaker walking the streets. And
Right.
so that's who I became for them, you know?
Yeah.
They gave me everything to survive, and I figured I would protect them the only way I knew how. And all I had was my hands at that time, you know? This was back in the 90s when people actually fought.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what lie about manhood did prison finally shatter for you?
Well, Jesus, I would say that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to be human.
So before that, you didn't feel like you could be.
Not at all. Not at all. When I was a kid and if I tried to cry, oh, that was a wrap. I know you know the old saying, if you want a reason to cry, I'll give you a reason to cry. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I grew up on that, so yeah, I just didn't cry, and so I got really, really good at just ignoring pain. And I think that's why I'm able to do what I do today, is because, you know, all the ass whoopings I took growing up, whether I was living with my mom or my dad, I was able to just ignore the pain and keep going, you know? So when I got shot, like my day-to-day is just so painful that I'm able to just ignore it for the most part until I go to sleep. Once I start going to sleep, I can't ignore it, and it gets really hard. But yeah, that's what it taught me. I'd say that was the lesson I took from it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say that was later in my years, because I would say my first 10 years in prison, like even though I spent 6 of it in ADSIG right away, I was acting a fool. I was young, dumb. At 18 years old, receiving a 40-year sentence, for me it was life. I thought I was getting life without parole, so I just didn't care. I really didn't care. I escaped from the county jail when I was still in the county. I escaped to Walsenburg, which is about 45 miles south of Pueblo, the city that I lived in. And all right, that's my 40 minutes, so I'm going to sit down now.
Okay.
No. I'm on a podcast right now.
Okay, I didn't know what.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, at 18 years old, receiving a 40-year sentence, I thought I had life, so I really didn't care. So I went into jail acting a fool. I escaped from prison, and then after I got caught, I ended up catching another case for having a weapon in there. I was trying to get at one of my enemies, and it didn't work out. And thank God it didn't. But so I ended up catching another street case for that, and I was just not a good person. I was not a good person. I was angry. I didn't care about myself, and I didn't care about anybody else, you know? So that's why I spent the first 6 years of my DOC sentence behind bars in 24-hour lockdown. And that's why I didn't have any human contact. It was rough. I'm a touch person. My love language is touch. So that was like one of the hardest things for me, is to have to do that. And at that time, we were only allowed 4 phone calls a month. If you were a good boy, you got 4 phone calls a month, you know? Me, I'd say my first 6 months without a TV, without no phone calls, without anything, because I didn't care. I just refused to follow the rules. I did what I wanted to do. And even back there, you had to, you had to. And I didn't. So I ended up spending so much time in the hole. It was crazy. Like, no phone calls for 6 months, no nothing, no, just letters. Letters was my only contact with my family and my friends,
Yeah.
But
So
my priorities were all messed up. I cared more about the homies than I did anybody else. I thought they were my family. And I continued to give them my loyalty until it was just shit. I mean, it wasn't too late, obviously, because I'm still here, but I don't know. I just gave them, I gave them the loyalty longer than I should have. Let's just leave it at that. And in 2010, some stuff happened in one of the higher security prisons. I got jumped by some of our enemies. 5 guys ran into my cell in the morning, and they didn't really do nothing to me. I'm very, very capable in the cell. But 5 guys were in my room for about 7 minutes trying to beat on me, and there was no retaliation. I put the word out on the yard to go ahead and handle business, and there was no retaliation, you know. And had it been the other way around, if I would have been the one on the yard and one of the homies got jumped, I'm going to be the first one to react. And that's how I was. I'm going to go get me a little something, and I'm going to go put some holes in somebody, you know?
Right.
But when I put the word out, because I had the keys to the yard, I put the word out to go get all the rest of them off the yard. None of them are allowed on the yard anymore. And nobody did nothing except for one of my friends. And I was like, that's your guys' loyalty to me? You know what I mean? Considering my status and who I am, that's your loyalty to me? And at that point, I was just like, I'm done with you guys. Right after that incident, my sister came to visit me. And at that time, I had planned on doing some dumb stuff. I was going to retaliate on my own. And one of my friends that got jumped with me, I told him, I was like, he had life in prison, life without parole. So I went up to him and I told him, I was like, hey, bro, as soon as we get out of the hole, we're going to go hit one of these dudes, you know?
Right.
And I said, they want to see what some killer shit's about. We'll show them. And he didn't want no part of it. Even though he had life without parole, he didn't want no part of it. And I was like, bro, like, because they stabbed him. When they jumped me, they stabbed him. And he didn't want no part of it. And so I was like, you know what? Never mind, homie. I don't need you. You know what I mean? And so I went to one of my other friends, and he had life. And I told him, I was like, hey, bro. I was like, Solo's acting like a weenie. I was like, I want to go put one of these fools in the dirt. You know what I mean? And he was like, let's go. Whatever you want to do, perrito. And we waited like a whole month. They wouldn't let no Northsiders on the yard because they knew what was going to happen, you know? And they wouldn't let none of them on the yard. Well, my sister came to visit me, and I told her what I was going to do. And, you know, my sisters known how I am, and she didn't do nothing to talk me out of it. She did her best to try to support me. She's like, all right, brother, just be safe, you know, do what you got to do. I didn't tell her exactly what I was going to do. I just told her I was going to be going to the hole for a long time, you know? And we had a visit. We finished the visit, and at the end of the visit, we were hugging, and her hug was a lot longer than normal, and it was tighter than normal. And I tried to pull away from her, and I could see that she was crying. And I was like, "Nah, sis, it's gonna be all right, you know." So I get back to my cell, and man, I never felt so fucking guilty in my life. I was like, "What a piece of shit!" Like, you're willing to sacrifice your family, the ones that are coming up here to see you. You know, the ones that really care. Like, you're willing to sacrifice your life for these motherfuckers they just showed you they don't care. They just showed you they don't care. You're willing to sacrifice your life for them? You know, I was ready. I was 100% ready to just go do some crazy shit and honestly catch a life sentence. I didn't care. And that visit with my sister, that changed everything for me. So at that point, you know, I said, fuck these dudes, man. I'm living for me now. I'm living for me. I'm not living for these dudes no more, you know? And
can we pause and go back a little bit? Because I want to know, like, when you were in the hole, like, what did you mourn about your inner child that you never got to be? Like, what did you mourn about that child that you never got to be?
Okay, so actually we could fast forward and get into that. And I'm going to tell you why, because after that visit with my sister and I opened my eyes, I started pulling away from them. I started pulling away from the gang. I didn't walk away completely, because you can't just walk away from them in there. Like, right. It's literally a death sentence. It's supposed to be.
Right.
And so I started pulling away. But because of who I was allowed to pull away the way I was. And with everything that happened, I was completely justified. Couldn't nobody tell me nothing, you know? And I end up leaving that facility. I go to Fremont. I end up in Fremont. And I started getting into programming. I got involved in the therapeutic community. The reason I did that was because of my grandma. My grandma was getting ready she was really sick, and I wanted to hurry up and get out. You know, this is 2015, so this is 15 years later. I I wanted to hurry up and get out. So I started doing these programs, and they had told me, like, if you do TC, you're almost guaranteed to get out when you see parole. And at that time, I was supposed to see parole in 2017. So I got involved in the programming, and I didn't take it seriously. I was just faking the funk, going through the motions. I was just doing what I had to do to hurry up and get out so I can go be with my grandma before she passed away, you know? Well, she ends up getting really sick in like June of that year. And she ends up passing in, I think it was July. And it fucking tore me up because that was my number one. My mom will tell you to this day that was my soulmate. So when she was passing, I got one phone call with her. I got my last phone call with her, and I didn't want it because when the chaplain calls you to the office, that means somebody passed away, you know. And I already know she passed. I already knew she passed because I was laying in the bed. Me and my cellie was during lockdown, and I felt her presence. And I knew. I even told my cellie, I was like, I think my grandma just died, bro. He's like, what? He's like, I think my grandma just died. He's like, why do you say that? I was like, I just feel her. And not even 20 minutes later, I get a call to the chaplain's office. Fuck. And my grandma had passed, so that one tore me up. So at that point, I decided to take the program serious. I said, you know what? I was about halfway through the program. I said, let's take it serious, man. I started like going to my groups and actually trying to look at what was bothering me. Why was I angry? Why was I hurt? Why was I scared? Why was I all these things, you know? And I start looking at the inner child and all the stuff that I went through, all the stuff I wasn't allowed to feel. And I realized maybe I was a little more fucked up than I thought, you know? And I ended up graduating the program, and I you know, it was a big turnaround for me. Well, when I graduated, I didn't feel like I had enough because I wasted that first 6 months. I didn't feel like I got enough out of the program. So after I had graduated, I went to Trinidad, and I started slipping into some old routines, into old thought patterns. And so I asked the admin, I was like, hey, you know, I don't feel like I got enough. I want to go do some more programming, you know? And I ended up going to Sterling to their TC program. And it was a lot different than the program I was at Fremont. It was more inmate ran. And it was a little more intense. It was a lot more intense, and it was a lot more focused on healing the inner child. So I stood there for about 8 months, and I seen parole. I was 2017. I seen parole, and they gave me a 4-year setback. And I don't know if you know how the system works, but
I do.
If you get a 4-year setback, that means you're sitting on your hands for 4 years. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no earn time. There's no good time. There's no cutting it down with the best behavior in the world. You got 4 years. And my case manager cried when she told me, because most people get a 1-year setback, a 2-year setback, maybe a 3-year setback is rare. And my case manager said she's never even seen a 4-year setback. So when I got that 4-year setback, I was devastated because I had been doing everything I thought I needed to do in order to get out, you know, staying away from the gang stuff. I hadn't been in trouble. I'd been programming for 2 years now. Like, I thought for sure I was getting out, you know? So when I got that setback, I went into a hole. I hid from everybody. I didn't want no one to ask me how I was doing. I didn't want nothing because I was on the edge. I was ready to just snap, you know? I was at that point, I'm like, fuck it. I guess this is what I'm doing, you know? And I had a group of guys that knew me really well. And I guess they noticed that I had disappeared, and they knew I was going through something. They knew about the 4-year setback on parole. And they called a game without me knowing. It's a therapy session. We call it games. But they called a game on me without me knowing. And James, his name is James McPherson. He's a really good guy. He was the para-pro for the program. He called me. He's like, hey, Leo, we need you for a game. And I was like, all right, bet. Because I was one of what we called the heavy hitters in the program. So, like, if we had a particularly difficult case where the guy didn't want to open up, they would call the heavy hitters. And it was me, James. There was like a group of guys, Jerry. There's a few of us that we would all show up, and we would break them down. You know, we would get into their childhood, and then, you know, we'd break them down and then build them back up. And we did some major healing, you know. So when they called me to the game, I show up. And I sit in the thing, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, who's the game on? And they're all looking at me. Fuck.
Can we stop?
There was nowhere to run.
Can we stop right there? Because I want to know, like, when did the moment in solitary when silence became like a voice?
The moment in solitary when silence became a voice.
Yeah, you jumped years ahead. I'm still trying to figure out the beginning.
Okay. The beginning was me, honestly, just...
So, like, in solitary confinement, all you had was silence. When did that silence and God start, like, triggering you and talking to you?
It didn't.
Never?
It didn't. It didn't. I was so focused on being a soldier. My routine was strict. I worked out like 3 times a day. You know, I had my cell. As soon as I woke up, I rolled up my bed, so I couldn't sleep in it. There was no laziness in me. I was a soldier. I was a warrior. All I wanted to do was just make an example out of people and make our neighborhood the strongest. You know, I wanted people to fear us.
So you didn't create like no rituals or habits or anything?
My ritual was working out, drawing, and playing chess. That was it. My mind was so focused on just being a soldier that I wanted my body to be ready. My body was my weapon, so I was ready for war at all times. And even in there, like once in a great while, the doors would accidentally open. And if they did and your enemy was out there, it's on immediately.
Yeah.
You just start swinging and you're trying to kill each other, you know? So that was my thought process, was just to be ready for war. Be ready for war. Every single day I woke up, get up, roll up the mattress, work out, clean my cell, get ready for breakfast. Breakfast comes, I eat, clean my cell again, start drawing for a little while. Lunch comes. After lunch, I work out again, clean my cell. Like, it was a strict routine. I didn't watch TV. I listened to music. And then, like I said, I played chess. That was my every single day for 6 years. Every day. I didn't want their TV. I didn't want anything they gave me because I felt like it made you weak. You know, they wanted we called the TV a babysitter. And I didn't want to be babysat. And even today, I don't watch TV. I listen to music, but I don't watch TV. I still listen to music. I'm still so like stuck in that mentality that I don't watch TV because I feel like it's a waste of time.
Right.
So back then, that was, I was in CSP, Fred. It was a 24-hour lockdown in Colorado State Penitentiary. So yeah, so that's where I was at, and that's what I was doing. That was my thought for 6 years. The first 6 years of my sentence was just soldier, you know, ready for war. And when I got to Lyman, the first day I got out of ADSEG, I finally left after 6 years. I went to Lyman, and they were on lockdown because they just had a race war between the Mexicans and the blacks. And I pull up, and you know, when you get to a new yard, you have to find who has the keys to the unit. And you have to like check yourself in basically and say, hey, you know, I'm so-and-so. I'm here. What's up? You know? So I find out who has the keys and I go to his door. You know, he was still on lockdown because I guess they had just got into it. And they were only letting us out 1 tier at a time to grab our trays. We'd have to go down to the bottom tier, grab our tray, and then go back to our cell and lock down. So I was the only one out because I had just got into the facility. So I'm the only one out in the whole pod. I go to the homie's door and I'm like, hey, bro, my name's Local Menace. I'm from Bessemer Spruce Locals. I'm like, what's up, homie? What's good on the yard, you know? And he's like, he goes, we're about to get at these fools as soon as these doors crack. I was like, who? And he told me. And I was like, all right, well, give me a blade. I was like, I'm not doing anything to him unless I have a blade, you know? And he looks at me. He's like, are you serious? I was like, bro, I just did 6 years in the box. I was like, I'm not going back to the box for a fight. I said, give me a blade or I'm not going, you know? And so I went back to my room. He never came to my door again. Never came to my door, never nothing. So, like, I was ready to go to war. And I wanted to, you know?
Right.
And so he never came to my door, so nothing ever happened. They never even attacked or anything, and it just, like, the dust settled after that. I ended up going to Unit 6, and I ended up fighting a lot for my first few years there at Lyman. I was fighting a lot, probably like once a week, and I just loved it. I was good at it. So I grew up fighting, you know, my whole life. I was a boxer. I did wrestling in school, and I just loved it. So
did it kind of release like tension for you?
God, it was the best release ever because it was an excuse for me to just beat the crap out of somebody. And my excuse was he's my enemy. I could do whatever I want to him, you know?
Right.
And it never satisfied the hunger that I had. It never satisfied the fire that was burning. It never quenched it. And that was another reason I wanted to leave the gang, is because I got to a point where, like, I never really wanted to, but my conscience started kicking in. I didn't know I had one. My conscience starts kicking in, and um, I didn't want to hurt people no more. That was it. And
Okay, now let's go back to where you were now when you were get called out.
okay, now we're back to the program.
You just skip like half of my questions. Just continue.
Sorry.
Okay.
So we get back to where I'm programming, and after the second year of programming, the lady that was running she ran the whole state for TC. She came to Sterling to do an audit of their program, and I ran into her, and she knew me from Fremont. She used to be the head there, and she had promoted. Well, when she seen me, like, she loved me when I was at Fremont, because she seen my turnaround. She seen me when I got there, when I just didn't give a fuck about the program, to when my grandma passed away, and now I'm taking the program seriously. So she seen all the changes. She seen them, and she knew me personally. We had really, really good conversations, and so when she seen me, like, she wanted to run up and give me a hug, and then she stopped herself because she realized I'm still staff, And I told her that I had just got a 4-year setback on parole, and she almost cried. She was like, "I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Will you come back to Fremont?" And I was like, "For what?" She goes, I want you in our program down there." And at that time, it was a step back, because I was in an MR, which is a medium restricted, and Fremont was a medium. So, or a minimum restricted, Fremont was a medium. So it would have been a step back. But I loved Fremont. I loved my time there. And so I told her, if you can make it happen, I'll go back to Fremont. And she did. She pulled some strings, and within a week, I was back in Fremont. I was like, damn, all right. So when I got there, I took what I learned from my first time in Fremont, and then what I learned from Sterling, and I had an idea for a program that would take what I had already been through to the next level. And actually, you know what? Let me go back to the game, because that game is very, very important. When everybody had me in the circle, and I realized that it was on me, that was my point where I said, you know what? I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm done holding all this shit in. I'm done carrying all this freaking anger, and let's figure some shit out. I'd had a few games before that, and they were very emotional, and they were very healing, but I was still holding back. I was still holding back quite a bit. So after I realized I was caught, and everything I was dealing with, getting denied parole, I just said, fuck it. I let him have it. I gave him everything I'd ever been through, everything that had ever hurt me. I left it right there on that floor, and I probably cried for like 45 minutes straight. I was bawling, crying, and just giving it all to them. And after it was said and done, like, every one of them was in the same boat. They were just going through it with me, and they were just like, man, I've never seen anybody open up like that. I've never seen nobody just give it all. I was like, I'm tired of holding this shit, bro. Like, it's poison. It's fucking poison. It turns me into somebody I'm not, somebody I don't want to be, And I just gave it to him. And after that, I realized I had a lot more issues than I thought, because that was when the issues with my dad came out. I didn't even realize I had, dad issues, mommy issues. I knew I had mommy issues, but the dad issues really came out, and there was just a lot of stuff that came out, and I got a lot of healing out of it. So that's when, shortly after that, I left to Fremont, and I got involved there, and that's when I wanted to do kind of what they do in Sterling, but on a grander scale, where we can help more people. And I got denied 4 times. I put in a proposal. I got denied 4 times because they said I wasn't a therapist. They're like, you guys are not therapists. You can't do this stuff, So I kept having to reword it until finally one day I got it. He calls me in the office. He's like, are you ready to start your program? And I was like, absolutely. He goes, when can you start? I was like, it was Thursday. I said, I could do it this weekend. Because I had been getting my team ready. I had been talking to the guys. I seen who was taking their program serious. And I had approached them months before, when I first put in the first proposal. I was like, hey, man, this is the program I'm trying to build. I see you're taking your program serious. Would you be interested? And everybody I asked said yes, without a doubt. It's like, we're going to do some real work here. No staff involvement. No one's gonna know what's said unless I say, you know what I mean? And he said we were ready to go. I said, yeah. He said we were on a probationary period, and we started off that Saturday with a guy that had been through some pretty heavy stuff, and it was a hit. It was a hit. It was a freaking raging success, and um, after that, like my program started becoming known in the program as something serious, a safe space where people can open up and not have to worry about being judged or not have to worry about getting punished if the staff hears something that they're not supposed to be doing. You know, it turned into a big thing, and I was very, very proud of it. But after about 6 months of that, I had already been in the program almost 3 years at this time. I got burnt out. I was just like, I've gotten enough. I feel like I'm at a point now where I can be self-sufficient. I don't need to lean on this program as much as I did before. And that's when I left to Trinidad and I started training dogs. I got into the dog program there, and I ended up getting my master's in the dog training program. And after that, I got out. I got out in 2021.
So, what covenant did you make with yourself that's been the hardest to keep?
The not putting my hands on people, because I swore when I got taken off the gang, that's when I told myself, all right, I'm not gonna put hands on nobody else after this, you know. And I did really, really good. I've only done it a few times since, and it wasn't like I didn't try to kill nobody or try to hurt nobody, but I still hit people, you know.
Yeah.
A couple of times I was pretty drunk when I did it, but Lala, it's over an hour. You're only supposed to walk for an hour. But that was the thing. Like, I had told myself, like, I don't want to hurt nobody else again. I'll never put hands on nobody again. So, and it's happened a couple times, and I kicked myself in the butt for it because I don't want that. I don't want to be that person no more, you know?
Yeah.
But
How do you distinguish God's voice from the traumatized self-talk?
I have a lot of verbal modifiers in place. Like, so when I start feeling a certain type of way, I have stuff in my head already, like, set. Okay, as soon as you start feeling sad, boom, why are you feeling sad? What happened that triggered what core belief? I try to figure out what core belief was touched. That's what it always goes back to. You know what I mean? Your thoughts and your feelings equal your behavior. So if you're not aware of your thoughts and if you're not aware of your feelings, your behaviors are probably not going to be very good. You know, the outcome's never going to be good. Right. So I became much more aware of my thoughts. I became much more aware of my feelings. And I feel like my conversations with God are every day. Every day I feel like, you know, I have to have these conversations with him, and it keeps me grounded. It keeps me aware. It keeps me in a better headspace, you know. I still get down, and it's really hard, especially with my body being the way it is, you know. My body is my biggest enemy right now for me. I hate it. I don't like my body anymore. Ever since I got shot, you know, I used to love the way I looked, and now I don't like the way I look anymore. You know, I don't like even my upper body. I don't like my upper body. I don't like my legs. I just don't like my body, you know, and I hate that I'm always in pain. 24 hours, it's pain, but I just fight through it. I try to accept myself for what it is, and, you know, I keep telling myself it's going to be okay and I'm going to get better, but it's not happening. It's not happening at the pace that I want it to happen. So I'm like, I get discouraged. Oh no.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Hey, mommy duties come first.
Memo. Hold on.
Lolo, I know. That's just how I feel. I don't put it out there much, but I do. I hate my body. I don't like it. I hate how I walk. Like,
sorry about that.
It's fine.
So is there a dream that you're scared to outgrow, or do you feel like you've outgrown all that?
All the dream?
Yeah, like, is there a dream that you're just scared to outgrow? Like, when you were younger, obviously you had the dream to being the best gangbanger, right? Is there any dream any other dream besides that you are afraid to outgrow now?
No, I don't feel like the only thing I'm afraid of is honestly the only thing I'm afraid of is my body getting worse.
Okay.
Me not being able to get better, me not being able to get faster. And that's it. Everything else, I'm not even afraid of death anymore at this point. Like I don't care, nothing bothers me. Nothing. I'm not afraid of anything. So,
Right.
as many times as I've almost died, death is not a factor for me.
So what does freedom mean to you now opposed from the first day you were released?
Oh shit. I mean, I remember the first day I was released because my sister and my brother picked me up, and we went to a gas station. This is after 21 plus years. I had never been to a gas station. I hadn't been in a regular car, for 21 years. So, when we get into the back of the car, my brother asked me what I wanted to hear, and I put on an SPM song. I put on an SPM song, and it took me back to the 90s, and we got to the gas station, and they were getting out, and I stepped out of the car, but I felt so freaking alien that I couldn't walk any further. I was like literally paralyzed right there in front of the door. And my brother and my sister are like, "You coming in?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And I sat back in the car and I shut the door, and like I'm looking around and everybody's walking like this with their phone in their hand. Nobody's making eye contact with nobody, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is all so foreign to me. This is all so rare. And I'm like, I'm trying to make eye contact with people that are walking by. Nobody's like looking, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I was like, this ain't my world. Like, this ain't my world. Like, let's go back. Can I go back? Like, I would have went back if they would have let me,
Did you think you were institutionalized?
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. I didn't even realize how bad it was until I got out. Like,
Right.
being able to do what I want when I wanted. Like, what? I'd never had a phone in my life. Like, I got an iPhone. It was an iPhone 8 when I first got out. That's what I got. They handed me an iPhone 8, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, where's the buttons?
Yeah.
And they start laughing at me, and I'm like, what are you laughing at? They're like, turn it on. I was like, how? There's no buttons. They're like, it's on the side, and like you could barely see it, I was like, so I click it, and I was like, okay, well, it's locked. How do I get in, And so she tells me the code, and I'm like, well, how do I call people? How do I call people on this thing? I had no clue how to use a phone. And it was all so overwhelming. Everything was overwhelming for me. Technology, I don't think I slept for 3 days. I didn't sleep for 3 days because I was stuck on that phone. Facebook was brand new to me. Everything was new to me. So I'm on Facebook, and man, it was just over freaking whelming. I didn't sleep for 3 days. My eyes were bloodshot red. I just stared at that phone for my first 3 days.
So when you got out and everything was kind of settled, you ended up going and talking to some criminology students.
Oh, yes.
How did that go?
I got out. I started working with my brother. I was working for a moving company, and then after 4 months, I started my own dog training business. That was in January of.
We'll get to that question.
Yeah, January of 2022. And then I think it was February or March, I was invited to do a criminology class in Dallas at the University of Texas. And so I showed up, and I did the speech. It was in front of probably like 100 students, and it was just a testimonial of my life. How kind of almost what I'm doing here, telling about my childhood, how I grew up, how I got involved in the gangs, my transition from, getting in to getting out and everything, and then getting out itself. And it was literally one of the best experiences of my life. There was not a dry eye in the house, including mine. And I was surprised that my story was able to motivate so many people and move so many people. All them kids, man, like, and they were all 20, 21, 22, who knows, how old or whatever. But it was just one of the best experiences of my life. And
I wish I would have took a different route at that point and got into more stuff like that. But I was just so focused on making money. That's all I cared about, and that, you know, starting my business, and I was still working for the moving company. And that's all I cared about was making money, you know, at that time. And I had a girl she was pregnant that I was living with, and I don't know if you want me to get into it now because it kind of transitions into how I got shot.
Well, that's what we were going into. So let's just 2 more questions, and then we'll get into that.
Okay.
On your first day out, you know, everything was all new. You were still feeling really institutionalized. But what did your spirit feel like to
Scared.
finally be free? Scared.
It was scared. It was scared. It was scared that I'm not going to be able to make it. Because I seen so many people get out and come back. People that I thought had it together, you know, people that I thought were like legit freaking, oh, this dude, man, I look up to him. He's got it together. And then 6 months later, he's coming back. He's all strung out on drugs. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I thought you was strong. I thought you was going to get out and do this, this, and that. You told me all your plans, you know. You were doing it for your kids. You were doing it for this and that. And like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, over and over and over, I seen this happen. So I was scared. I was scared that I'm going to be next because I didn't know how to handle all this stuff. Women changed. The women were completely different. Everything was ass backwards. Now I got women coming up to me and like talking to me like I used to talk to the women back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, no, this is not how this works.
Equality.
Yeah, like what the hell? Like, no.
Yeah. Okay, so what relationship suffered most from the time you were inside, and how are you rebuilding that now?
I would say it's the relationship with my oldest brother. I'm the oldest of 8. But it was my oldest brother. Me and him were super close growing up, and you know, I practically raised him. And when I got locked up, I didn't realize how much it affected him. And he had wrote me a letter when I was in there, and that letter like fucked me up for years because, you know, he was like basically saying I abandoned him, you know, that he didn't know how to be a man without me, and like a bunch of like just a lot of stuff, man. It was a heavy letter, and it messed me up for a long time. And so when I got out, I made it a point to do my best to try to be there for him and for his family. And, you know, he has a son now that's into Little League Baseball. He started his own baseball team. And so I did my best. Like, I would come down just for practices. He'd be like, oh, AJ has a practice down here. And I'd fly down just for practice, and I'd go straight back to Denver, you know? Yeah. It's a 2-hour drive. I would drive down here just for 2 hours just to watch a practice. Baseball games. I'm flying down here just to watch baseball games. And, you know, even till today, like, you know, it was funny because he would call me at random ass times, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. And he would be like, I'm just so happy that I can call you, you know? He was just so happy. He's like, man, I can't believe I'm talking to you right now. I can call you anytime I want. I was like, absolutely, you can, you know? And like after a year or so, I was so focused on what I was doing with the money, like that kind of died down a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And we kind of stopped talking. Not like there was no love lost or anything, but he was busy doing his life, and he was living his life and doing the same things he was doing before I got out. So he just kind of fell back into his routine. And, you know, I fell into a new routine that I was doing. And I lost touch a little bit with my brother. And now that I'm down here in Pueblo, I go over there a lot more often. At least once a week, I go to his house, and, you know, we'll sit there and barbecue or make food or whatever and just chill. And I still go to his my nephew's games and stuff. And that relationship is slowly rebuilding. It's slowly rebuilding.
So when you were released, what could the system change to make it easier for somebody coming out of the system to be here on the streets?
I would say teaching the men just how to be productive citizens. There was no transition for me. It was boom, you're locked down, now you're free.
Right.
There was no teaching of how to manage money. I still don't know how to manage money worth the shit. You know, there was no teaching on how to manage money. There was no teaching just day-to-day stuff that you wouldn't even think. Credit cards, building your credit, like renting a house. Like, I didn't know how to do, I still don't know how to do a lot of these processes. I struggle today trying to find a place to rent because I don't know. I get so frustrated filling out applications that I just don't do it.
Right.
You know, and even my Social Security, I just got denied for the 6th time Social Security, but it's because I keep messing up some of the applications. I don't know how to do this stuff. Like, I'm ignorant to so many different things, and everything's online. I'm like, why can't I just come in? Why can't I just come in and you talk to me and we figure it out?
Yeah.
Well, we don't do that, Mr. Sandoval. I'm like, fuck. So I just get frustrated and I give up because I don't know how to do this stuff, you know. And it sounds dumb to admit that. I feel dumb admitting that, but that's why I'm in the position I'm in, is because I don't know how to do a lot of the things I probably maybe should, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't like asking for help. I hate asking for help. My pride is so freaking, even after everything, my pride is so big that I refuse to ask for help. And it's frustrating, you know.
I get it. So, November 13th, 2022, what was your first thought on the ground?
So, yeah, that night I got shot. I walked up to the car, not thinking anything, because I mean, I had told her I wanted her to leave, and I told her to pack her stuff and go. And I had left, so I gave her the opportunity to do that in peace. You know, take whatever you want. I don't care. You can use my truck. I had a box truck. I had my own moving company. So, when I pulled up back to the house and I was getting ready to get into the car, she was leaving, or at least I thought she was leaving. And I thought she was waiting for me to talk about how maybe we were going to get my truck back, you know? So I walk up to the truck thinking, we're just going to have a quick conversation. Like, okay, do you want me to follow you to Pueblo? And then I'll just bring the truck back with my mom or somebody, you know what I mean? And, nope, I went to go step up. I grabbed the rail and I went to go pull myself up. And right when I was like almost all the way up, there was just a gun right in my face. And I knew she was going to pull the trigger. I freaking ducked, and the first shot went off, and it was pretty freaking loud. It disoriented the shit out of me. I jumped off the edge of the truck, and I went to go turn, and right when I went to go turn, the bullet went in right here. That's where the bullet went in. It went in there, it broke my rib, it fractured my vertebrae, and it stuck right here in the muscle. And I was instantly paralyzed. I was laying on the ground, and like, I knew I was in trouble. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't move anything. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? You know what I mean? And I looked up and I could still see the truck sitting there. So I was like, damn, like that, Nikki? And she goes, fuck you, Leo.
Let's not say names.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. I was like, damn, like that? And she goes, fuck you, Leo. If I can't have you, nobody can. And she just drove away. Left me there. Yeah, left me there. And my legs were underneath me. My feet were like kind of by my butt, but they were like bent backwards and sideways. I thought my legs were straight. And when I finally was able to lift my head up just enough that I could see my feet were right here, I was like, oh fuck, this is worse than I thought. You know?
Yeah.
And I couldn't move my arms. I tried to push my feet with my hands. I had zero strength. I tried to yell for help. Both of my lungs were collapsed. I didn't even know. Both of my lungs were collapsed, and I couldn't barely breathe. And I tried to yell for help. I couldn't yell for help. And I tried to whistle, but it was literally just like, that was all I could muster. And I was like, well, that ain't gonna work. So I just laid there and I was like, I'm looking up at the sky. I'm looking at the stars, and I'm like, this is some fucking bullshit, you know? And I start talking to God at this point. And I'm like, come on, God, man. Just take me. You know what I mean? Just take me. Don't leave me down here like this. Like, I don't want to live like this, man. I can't be paralyzed. I can't be stuck in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, you know? And I'm like, just take me. And the more time went on, the more I'm like realizing you're going to fucking survive this shit. And I start getting mad. So I'm like, I don't want to survive. I don't want to survive this. Like, let me go. You know what I mean? Just take me, bro. Like, and I start getting mad at him, and I start cussing at him, and I'm challenging him. I'm like, come on, you pussy, take me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing everything I can to get him to take me. And he's not budging. He's not budging. He's like, nah. So I just laid there and waited, and finally a car was passing by. And was like, "Hey, do you need help?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I could use some help. You know, you want to call an ambulance?" And they were like, "Sure." So they called an ambulance. I don't know how long it was. I lost 5.5 quarts of blood while I was laying there.
Wow.
And yeah, they came and got me, took me to the hospital. They cut me open, put a chest tube in. They had to drain the liquid from both of my lungs. And yeah, it was a trip. I couldn't move anything. I could barely move my arms at that point, and I couldn't move my legs or nothing at all, like not even a toe.
So was there ever a thought like, God, I've been in all these fights and all these other issues, and this is how I'm gonna go?
Yeah, yeah, because at that point I was doing everything good. Like I was living right. You know, I didn't break no laws. I wasn't selling drugs. I wasn't doing anything illegal. You know, I was like a legit fucking citizen. I was trying to put these businesses together. I had just started a moving company with my brother. That was his dream, you know, and so I wanted to help him fulfill his dream. Um, and yeah, so this was not how I thought I was gonna go out. I'm like, bro, you gangbanged for how many years? You've been in so many freaking fights in prison, like race wars and you know all these other different things that happen, and like you're still here. I'm still surviving, you know, and um, it was a lot. It was. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it happened to me, you know,
Right.
and I couldn't believe that I even now, especially now, like I'm not strong enough to overcome it. I feel like I'm not strong enough to overcome it, you know? Even though I'm doing what I'm doing with the walk and everything else, I feel like I'm not strong enough to overcome it. And it's scary to me. That's my biggest fear is that I'm not going to be able to overcome this injury. And even though the doctors told me I would never walk again, they like literally told me like I would never walk again. And one doctor told me I would be lucky if I was able to walk within the next 5 years. And so I kind of took that as a challenge as well, you know. I took that as a challenge to get stronger and get better and to prove them wrong. And but yeah, I think that's my biggest fear right now is that I won't be able to overcome what I'm going through right now.
Okay. What does forgiveness look like?
Scary again. If I forgive myself, then there's no one to blame.
I guess let me reiterate that. What does forgiveness look like when it comes to your shooter?
Oh, I don't give her no thoughts. I don't hold no ill will toward her. I don't care what happens to her. She didn't even get no prison time. She got a slap on the wrist for what she did to me. And I don't care. Like it don't bother me. I don't think about her. I don't wish bad on her, but at the same time, I don't care if bad does happen to her. You know, it's not going to make me feel better if it does.
Right.
So I don't care. I've forgiven her, I guess you would say, because she's just not a thought in my mind anymore.
Okay.
I don't care. I don't want justice. I need justice. I don't care. It don't bother me. I don't care what happens to her. Just let me live my life, you know?
Right.
Just let me live my life and let me be. Because for 2 years, she would not leave me alone. She was making, yeah, she had my phone number, obviously. So she was making text now numbers. And she would bother me every day, every freaking day for 2 years. On my social media, she would make new accounts and I'd block them. New numbers, I'd block them. You know, everything. She would use her daughter as a weapon as well. Because me and her daughter were really, really, really close. And she would use her she would use her daughter to try to reach out to me and try to get conversations going, you know, and I'm like, no. And I felt really, really bad that I had to block this little girl that was 7 years old that called me dad. She called me dad, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm blocking a 7-year-old girl on TikTok, on Facebook. And, you know, it broke my freaking heart every time I had to do it. But I knew half the time her mom was probably the one pulling the strings behind the curtain, you know? So like, I don't have nothing for her. It's just, I forgive her.
Okay.
I forgive her.
Okay. How do you celebrate progress that nobody else sees? Oh, I'm sorry. What emotion still surprises you with intensity?
What emotion? I don't know. I don't feel like. Thanks. Stop. Um, I feel like I have really good control of my emotions nowadays. You know, especially with all the programming I did and everything I've been through. I guess fear, the fear of honestly, and it probably shouldn't be a fear, but the fear of letting all my people down here on TikTok. You know, all the people that come and subscribe to me and all the people that watch me every day on my walk. Like, my fear is letting them down. Like, I don't really care about myself as much as I probably should. My fear is letting them down. Um, they set alarms to come watch me. They set alarms to push me. I mean, today you didn't get to see it, but today was the first day that I had people in my boxes walking with me. I had Lolo and my sister and Priscilla and Lala. They were all walking with me. And that was such a empowering feeling. I never felt such a sense of community. Even when I was gangbanging and stuff, like, that was supposed to be family or whatever. I never felt the way I feel about them, how I feel about the people in my chat.
Right.
Like Peter. Yeah, Peter's one of them, man. Peter, this guy's been giving me ideas on how to make this into something. Sorry, Peter. Peter, we did a walk today early with Lolo, with everybody walking in my boxes. And I think I had told you about it. Every Monday I want to do it. And I want to get people from all over, creators from all over, to be in my boxes walking with me, just in support of my journey,
Okay. 1 second. If we could remain in the chat till the end of the podcast, we are going to allow you to do questions afterwards. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's just the way I hold the podcast. Just because the podcast itself is usually an hour, and then if you get into, no, you're okay. We get into the questions in the chat, then it ends up being like 2 hours, and then
Yeah.
I have to do a lot of editing then. Okay. Sorry about that. How do you celebrate progress that nobody else sees?
I don't.
No?
The progress I have is because of the people in here, and I celebrate with them. All my milestones are with them. Everything I've done is with them. So, they don't really get to see. I mean, I put in the most work with them. That's where I do my most progress. Like, I work out multiple times a day. I try to anyway. But my biggest progress is with the people here that are here right now, watching and commenting and supporting me. So
that you have that support system now. That's awesome. How do you balance radical self-honesty with necessary self-compassion? Or do you?
I don't. I'm very mean to myself. I am so mean to myself, and I know my chat is gonna really, really get on me, because there's a lot of people that are supporting me, that I support back in different ways, and when they're going through stuff, that's the number one thing I tell them is be nice to yourself. Like, your body reacts to that stuff. Your thoughts. When you have negative thoughts, your body reacts. Your cells react at a cellular level. Your body reacts to negative thoughts. Your body reacts to positive thoughts. I seen a study one time that showed your cells, like when you're constantly nice to your cells, how they act, and then how they act when you're constantly mean to them. And it's crazy how I literally will sit here and tell them all the time, be nice to yourself. Tell yourself you love yourself, and even if you don't believe it, just keep telling yourself that every day. But I don't do it very often, as much as I should.
Okay. Where do you think your story ends and God's story begins?
Whew.
Like, looking back at your story, your entire life, where do you think your story ends and God's begins?
When I got shot.
Okay.
When I got shot, because I feel like maybe I wasn't supposed to be doing everything I was doing. I was doing everything for all the wrong reasons, And now I feel like the way I'm living my life is for all the right reasons, And I may not have the money that I had before I got shot, but I feel much more blessed. I feel like I'm on the right path.
Okay.
I feel like what I'm doing now, there's a reason behind it. There's a point to it all, you know, and I never felt that before. Even when I was making all that money, I feel like what was my end game? I don't know. I didn't have one. I didn't have an end game. You know, it was just, I wasn't spending as much time with my family as I should have because I was so focused on making money. And now I spend a lot more time with my family. Me and my mom have reconnected. You know, my mom, I don't know, you don't really know, but there's an inside joke with a lot of people in my chat know. I refer to my mom as the kitchen fairy. So when I have food, like she feeds me, she brings my meals, and I'm like, oh, my kitchen fairy brought me this today, and I'll show the plate of food that I'm eating, and she's like, well, I need a kitchen fairy to come do the dishes. But me and my mom have reconnected on a level that I never thought we would. I've been living with her since January. I came down here to get into welding school, and I graduated about 3 weeks ago. So now I'm a certified welder, and I'm trying to figure out how I can turn that into something. Because I can't train dogs anymore without legs. My legs don't work enough that I can feel like I can train dogs efficiently enough.
What about art?
Art, I'm a tattoo artist, so
Okay.
I do a lot of tattoos. I try not to do bigger ones.
Welding art, like welding, using your welding into art with steel.
The only thing with that is I don't have the equipment.
Okay.
Welders are expensive.
I know.
Welders are expensive. I have nowhere near.
Welder.
Yeah, I have nowhere near the money to get the equipment that I need. Even like used equipment on eBay or freaking Craigslist and all that, it's still really expensive. I just don't have that money to get it. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I could do some really cool artistic stuff with welding. I just don't have the money to afford it. So.
Okay. What fear are you secretly grateful for?
What fear?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, my biggest fear was being paralyzed. Before I was shot, that was always my biggest fear, was being paralyzed. Because I always relied on my body. My body was everything. I could run a 5-minute mile at 39 years old. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot, and to lose my body was my biggest fear, and I faced it. I faced it, and I'm still facing it. I'm still going through it every day, Yeah.
What does worthy look like in the mirror right now?
Far away.
Okay.
Yep, it looks far away.
Fair enough. What part of the creek walk symbolizes your progress the most?
My what?
When you walk along the creek, when you're out there by the creek?
That's where I go to get my peace. When I'm going through something, that's where I go.
What part of that symbolizes your progress to you the most, though?
I mean, just the fact that I can get there.
Okay.
The fact that I can get on my scooter, I take my dog with me everywhere I go, and he goes with me, and I can get up and throw rocks in the river, and he'll go chase them. And the fact that I can sit there and enjoy that peace with my dog, for me, that's it, That's where I find my happiness.
Okay. In what ways are you still deprogramming prison culture?
There's actually a lot of ways, because I'm so comfortable being by myself now.
I'll let you answer that. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. So you just keep talking.
Yeah, just being able, being comfortable being by myself. I don't do well in crowds. I don't like going to malls. I don't like going to stores. I don't like doing group activities. My sister invited me to go tubing this weekend, and I was gonna go, but when she sent me the website to the location that we were going, I seen a lot of people, and so I decided not to go. And my sister asked me yesterday, she's like, why didn't you come up? And I didn't want to be around all them people. You know, I don't like being around people. I don't trust people. You know, in prison, like when people group up, that's when shit goes down. That's when like the war's about to kick off. So even out here, like I see people grouped up, and in my head, like my automatic thought is, watch out, watch them. What are they up to? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I need to get that out of my head so I can get out and go do stuff. Like I don't go out at all. I've been out one time this whole year so far. I went to a club with my friends, or my cousin and his friends, and I don't go anywhere. I don't go to too many people's houses. I don't meet a lot of people, and I think I need to get out of that, and that's from being in there. You know, that's from being comfortable with it, not having human contact for 8 years. You know, not being able to touch, even after I got out of the hole and I was in general population. Being a guy that has a love language as touch as his first language is not a good thing in prison.
No.
So I'm not running around. I can't run around and still show my love the way I want to, you know. So I guess for the whole 21 years, I wasn't really allowed to show my love the way I know how.
Right.
The way I do. So,
is there a significant other, or is there one in the making?
yeah, there's someone I'm talking to.
Okay.
I don't know. You know, there's some factors involved that are preventing things from happening, but
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Fair enough. What does it mean to stay rare to you today?
Stay rare.
Mm-hmm.
To stay rare to me would be to continue just being as strong as I am. Continue being the rock that I am, even though I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've been the rock my whole life, you know, the oldest of 8. I think that's what it means, just to continue to be that rock, continue to be a motivating factor for people. You know, I realized when I was in prison what my influence has on people. And it's not even anything I strive for. I don't look for leadership roles. I don't look for, you know, anything like that. But it seems like no matter what I'm doing, whether it's positive or negative, I get a lot of people to follow me. A lot of people believe in what I say and what I do.
Natural leader.
Yeah, just like with this walk right here, you know, just like with this walk, like having the people in my boxes today that I had in my boxes, I never thought that they would look at me in the way they do, that they would actually walk with me.
Right.
You know? And it just makes me feel blessed. It makes me feel heard. It makes me feel seen. It makes me feel like I have a purpose. You know, it makes me feel like I can touch people, like I can motivate people, and I don't know. It just makes me feel amazing. It makes me feel worthy, I guess.
Okay. So with that being said, thank you for showing up. I'm going to give everybody option to ask questions. I'm just going to do the closing real quick. I'll black out the screen, and then we'll go into the comments to see if anybody has any questions in the comments. So if you're listening and you've got questions you're worth, I want you to ask yourself this. What piece of your story am I still hiding that could set me free if I shared it? Take a deep breath, because your voice matters. And thank you for showing up, showing us that healing isn't always clean. Thank us, but it's always sacred. Okay. If this story touched you, please share it. If you're ready to reclaim your voice, message me. I do have a link tree in my bio. I would love to hear your story and share it with those who need to hear that. Maybe you don't know who they are. Maybe they don't either, but just hearing it might help. So we're here because one voice can change everything, and remember to stay rare. Also, sorry. I have the National Alliance on Mental Illness for 1-800-940-NAMI, 1-800-950-NAMI, Prison Fellowship Reentry Support.org, Christopher and Dan Reeve Foundation for Paralyzed Resource Center, and those are my resources.